Okay, sir. Okay. Good morning, students. My subject is zoology. I am Siva. I have 13 years experience in teaching zoology. I work in various schools. Now we are going to learn the first chapter in first year zoology is diversity of living world. Unit 1. Diversity of living world. Now we are going to learn about the first unit is diversity of living world. In this lesson we will learn about nature of biology, living world 1.1, 1.3 branches of biology. So living world. So living world means it is having all types of organisms. So do you have an idea about before going to diversity? What is life? Life means the property of all types of organisms is called the property of all types of all organisms is called life. What is my property? The characteristic feature of organism is called property. It may be digestion, excretion, or reproduction, or response is called property. Example, what are these? What are the properties? So properties are nothing but characteristics. Properties are characteristics of living organisms. So the characteristic features or characteristics of the living organisms are characteristics of organisms. Growth, reproduction, metabolism, reproduction, irritability, and consciousness. So these are the important properties of living organisms. Growth. So what is meant by growth? So growth means an increase in mass and number of cells is called growth. Growth is defining or non-defining? Growth is non-defining. growth is non-defining feature. Why it is called non-defined feature? Because growth we can see both living and non-living organisms. The which is seen in the living organisms is called defining process, which can be seen in the non-living things along with living things is called non-defining. So growth is defining, non-defining. It is a non-defining process because this growth is two types: intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic and extrinsic growth. What is intrinsic? The growth which occurs inside the organism or inside of things is called intrinsic growth. So generally this growth seen in the living things, that is called intrinsic growth. Understand? Extrinsic. So we can see the growth outside the living things. Example, growth of mountains, plateaus. Because mass increasing on the surface of the mountains, that is called extrinsic growth. This is called non-living things. So we can see the growth from the non-living things, hence it is called non-defining process. Actually, in living organisms, growth is controlled by mainly hormones, food and genes. Reproduction. So reproduction is also non-defining process. What is meant by non-defining process? Because we can see the reproduction in the living things and every organism cannot reproduce. Example, some animals are sterile. Example, mules. So it is growth is reproduction is a non-defining process. Do you understand defining? So which is the process which appears both living thing and non-living thing, that is non-defining. Which appears only living, that is called defining. So that is the meaning of defining and non-defining process. It is more important. Now see the definition of the reproduction. So what is the reproduction? Production of young ones by asexually or sexually. The production of young ones by sexually or asexually is called reproduction. So reproduction is broadly two types: sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction. Sexual, asexual reproduction. See, sexual means fusion of gametes. No fusion of gametes. No fusion of a gamete. It is of so many types: binary fission, multiple fission, fragmentation, regeneration, fragmentation, regeneration, tissue culture, etc. So these are the so many types. Budding. So these are the types of reproduction. Ultimately, the purpose of reproduction is to produce young one by any method is called reproduction. So reproduction also non-defining process. Metabolism. So what is the metabolism? Metabolism means sum of chemical reactions. Sum of chemical reaction. This is metabolism. This metabolism is two types. One is anabolism, second is catabolism. Sum of all chemical reactions in the living organism is called metabolism. It is two types, anabolism, catabolism. Anabolism is a complex process in which complex molecule prepared or energy stored, energy created, that is called anabolism. Good example, this is simple to complex process and this energy prepared, example photosynthesis. Catabolism, breakdown of the complex molecule into simple molecule is called anabolism, example respiration. So in anabolism, molecule is prepared, energy stored. In catabolism, energy prepared molecule is broken down and energy released. So energy releasing process is catabolism, energy storing process is anabolism. So good example, photosynthesis is anabolism, respiration is catabolism. So all chemical reactions are nothing but metabolism. So each anabolism, catabolism again having reactions of oxidation and reduction. Reproduction already I told you. Irritability. So irritability means every when we are exposed to the environment, living thing shows response to stimulus is called irritability. So showing response to the stimuli, whether weak stimuli or strong stimuli. I am listening to you, I am listening to you. Your sound, your posture is stimulus. What I am saying, what I am hearing, that is called response. That showing response is called irritability. So irritability is a defining process. Means it can be seen only, it can be expressed by living thing only. That is called irritability. Second one is a consciousness. So living organisms respond to the environmental changes, that is called consciousness. So this is also a defining process. It can be exhibited by only living things, but not living things, not by living things, not by non-living things. So that is a defining process. So these are the important properties of the living, along with so many properties are there. Nature, scope and meaning of biology. So we have to understand the terms life, biology and zoology. Life, biology, zoology and biodiversity. So in these four terms we should clearly understand about these four words regarding the biology and zoology. So what is meant by life? I told you, the property of living organism is called life. The property of living organism is called life. What is biology? Science or study of living organisms is called biology. Who introduced this word? Lamarck. The word biology firstly coined by Lamarck. Do you know? That is biology. Study of all living organisms, means bacteria to man. The study of all living organisms is called biology. This word firstly introduced by Lamarck. Yes, sir. Next, zoology. The science of all animals is called zoology. The popular zoologist is Theodore Swan. Means he is the first person to observe the animals. Theodore Swan. So what is zoology? Study of animals. It is also called pure animal science. Zoology. It's also called metazoa. It's also called metazoa. So that is a zoology, pure science, animal science, metazoa, and animal tissues firstly studied by Theodore Swan. So all these are regarding the zoology. Next, biodiversity. Sum of all species are diversity in life. Sum of all species or diversity in life is called biodiversity. This word, the word biodiversity, firstly introduced by Ernest Haeckel. The present species, according to IUCN, 1.5 million species. According to Robert May, according to Robert May, 7 million species, and IUCN 1.5 million species. That is a biodiversity. So biodiversity, so there is a huge number of species. This biodiversity, three types: alpha diversity, beta diversity, gamma diversity. And so species diversity, diversity species, diversity in ecosystem, ecosystem diversity, genetic diversity, diversity species. So that is called alpha beta diversity, and gamma diversity. This is diversity in a species, diversity in an ecosystem, diversity in genes, diversity in two species, diversity in ecosystem. These are the types of diversities. So today the class over. Tomorrow we are proceed with 1.3 branch of zoology. Thank you for bearing with me.